$250,000 doing sprinkler system blowouts is not only possible, it's worth it. So let's get into some of the nitty-gritty details about sprinkler system blowouts. So we'll start with what kind of air hose connections. Then we'll move on to my favorite hand tools that I carry with me through every single blowout and pretty much every day. So here we've got some variety of air hose connections. So this is just a 1/4 inch industrial connection, M style, which is pretty common. You can buy these in singles or packs, but this is probably one of the most useful air hose connections that you're going to have. Here's the coupler, also 1/4 inch. These are, you can do quick connects or just regular connections. You pull that back, latches in like that. So those are pretty common. This is going to be your best friend right here. I like to carry 2 or 3 of them at least when I'm doing blowouts in case I leave one behind or lose one. You can also get bushings that will adjust the size up. I like to have my coupler, my plug, and then a bushing up to 1/2 inch and a bushing up to 3/4 inch. And you can even go up to 1 inch if you want as well. But having different size bushings comes in really handy when you are connecting to backflows that you've never seen before. Here's another type of connection. You can get these shut-off ball valves. Any hardware store, you can order them online. This is a female plug here going into the ball valve shutoff, and then you've got a coupler on this side. This way you can connect into your plug and then control the air flow here. So these are really handy. You can make them yourself. Here's another style of the same basic idea. This has a female spigot for your hose, your garden hose connection. This is really handy because you can thread it right onto a garden hose spigot that is installed on the backflow if you have one. This one I bought online. It's okay. It's kind of cheap. The thread here tends to leak a little bit. You can always put Teflon tape on these connections. Sometimes it's required. Sometimes when you buy them, it has something that's already on there. But this one is a connection for a garden hose. The manufacturers always recommend connecting to the backflow after the backflow. So not on the inlet side, but on the outlet side after the second ball valve. That way you're not blowing air through the backflow and damaging any components inside. There's a lot of plastic and rubber components. One time probably is not going to do any damage, probably. But if you do it multiple times, it definitely can do some damage. So these kind of connections are really handy if you're connecting after the backflow, because you can find the female connections there, or sometimes people will install a garden hose connection. So these are pretty handy. These are the ones I recommend if you're going to be using a 1/4 inch air hose for your common household tools or air guns or whatever. You have the air hoses already, and I'll show you what those air hoses look like. Here is the air hose that a lot of people use. It's just a 1/4 inch. It's pretty standard for tools, pneumatic tools. This is a quick coupler right here. These are really handy. They're lightweight. They're easy to move around, but they also don't have as much volume of air. But these work really good if you're using electric air compressor. If you have to connect to the backflow through one of the test cocks, one of the test ports here, having a couple of these on hand is really handy because you can take the one on the backflow, take it off, thread this one in, and this fits your standard air hose plug right here. You can thread it in, make the connection to your air hose, and go for it. You can use the ball valve that you built here, or you can use this with a screwdriver. It acts as a ball valve as well. So you have it on right there parallel with the pipe, or now it's perpendicular, so now it's shut off. This piece is very valuable. You use this all the time. I would also recommend getting a 90-degree brass fitting. It's a 1/4 inch brass female connection. It's also a female on this end, but I've put a nipple here, a 1/4 inch nipple, male on both sides. And this is really good for those tight spaces. If the backflow is right in a corner or something, if this is your backflow connection right here, imagine this is the backflow. This is your test cock. You can thread this in, and then that way when this threads in, it's a much tighter space here. So this works handy in tight spots. You can also get these that are 45-degree angle. It's also a 1/4 inch, and so you can thread this in to the test port here, and it gives you a little bit more of an angle there as well. I don't use this one as much. Teflon tape, this is a good thing to have on hand because these connections here can leak. And when you are blowing out a sprinkler system, especially using an electric compressor, you want all the area that you can get. You really don't want to waste it. So now we're going to move on to a different type of air hose connection, and that is the Chicago style air hose connection. Some people call it a duck foot. These are very different than what you would normally find at a hardware store. These kind of connections are difficult. You have to kind of go to a specialty store for that or order them online. But these are great because it doesn't matter what size hose you have, 1/2 inch, 3/4, 1 inch, the couplers are all the same size. These are good because it's just a simple quarter twist and it's locked together, it's sealed up, and then you twist them apart and they're good to go. The only one of the main differences is when this is disconnected, this is always open. Air will constantly blow out through it. So never disconnect them while the air is blowing through a hose. That is dangerous. Don't do that. I use these a lot. So this is probably the most common one I use, this connection. It has the spigot connection, the garden hose connection right here with a ring. I keep extra rings with me because these get lost often. So get a little bag of those seals. You will be happier if you do. But this connection right here swivels. You thread this right on, make your air hose connection, and it works fantastic. Now, when you are doing that, they recommend using a clip. When you connect to your hose, put it together, and then this pin goes through them. That way you can't twist them. They will never come apart on accident. Safety, keep this pin with you. This is the next most popular connection that I use. So it's just a 1/4 inch nipple, and this can be different lengths. And then here I have the test cock already connected. I keep it connected sometimes because you end up taking it on and off all the time. So I just usually keep it connected, but that's just 1/4 inch male thread. And this is that test cock again there, that test part. So I keep this usually together. This is not recommended you blow out through the backflow or before the backflow, but sometimes it's the only way to do it without tearing into the backflow or cutting into the pipe. So it's handy to have one when you do need to use it. There's different connections. This is a smaller extension here. This little nipple here is 1/8. We don't use that very often. Another one with the PVC here. Be careful when you're threading in a metal male into a plastic female. You can over tighten it and this can crack. So be very careful doing this. Here's a swivel connection. So this is the exact opposite of this. So this is male by male. This is female by female. This is your iron pipe thread. This is your garden hose thread. You can tell not only because of the coarseness of the threads, but also it has the rubber seal, the O-ring right there. This goes into the garden hose side. I always keep a couple of these handy, maybe one of these handy. It's a good thing if you're going to be doing a lot of blowouts, especially late season, to keep a couple of the bonnet and poppets with you because these will freeze. And sometimes you have to go through the backflow to blow it out. And if you don't have one that's working, if it's frozen and broken, you can't do it. So keep a couple of these with you. So this, for most houses, you will never use this. This is more of a commercial application. This is a quick connect, usually for commercial applications, but only works if there's a quick connection built into the ground or built into the sprinkler system. So this slides in, twists, and locks itself in there. And then this swivels so you can connect your air hose to this. These are handy. This is the Rainbird key. And if you're doing commercial blowouts, definitely get one of these. Keep it on hand. Here's a smaller version of that key, but it is nice to have if you're doing commercial blowouts. Here are the hoses that I was talking about that are the Chicago style. They're much heavier duty. They will push out a lot more air, but they do take that Chicago style connection. And these usually are for compressors that are towed behind the truck or the vehicle. So it's nice to have at least probably 75 feet of this kind of hose in your truck. So now, onto my favorite tools that I use all the time. We'll start with a pair of channel locks. These are my best friends. I'm not that lonely, they are just that handy. So these are amazing because not only can you adjust the sizes for different connections, plugs, couplers, keep 2 of them on hand because these connections you can do sometimes with your hand, but a lot of times it's best to use 2 of them, tighten them if you need to to loosen them if you need to. I like to keep 2 of them in my toolbox with me. One of them I always keep with me while I'm doing the blowout. I just slide the handle into my belt loop or my leather belt, and it comes with me everywhere I go. You can also use this to open valve boxes. You can use it for anything you can imagine. Next thing that's pretty useful, just a flathead screwdriver. This one is a multi-use, so you have different bits on it, Phillips and a flathead. This one's really handy because you can do lots of different things with it. I don't use this as much. I do use flathead screwdrivers on every single blowout, but I'll show you my absolute favorite tool. This Milwaukee utility knife is probably my most useful tool that I carry around with me. So not only do you have the utility knife and a line cutter here, this particular one has a built-in screwdriver. So you've got a flathead end on this side and then a Phillips end on this side, and you can rotate them around. I use this every single day, dozens of times every day, and they last forever. I highly, highly recommend one of these. I'm not getting paid by Milwaukee. I wish I was, but I absolutely love these utility knives. You also have a bottle opener right there and a belt clip. So this and this never leave me when I'm doing any kind of sprinkler blowout or even sprinkler work for that matter, landscaping work in general. These are my buddies right here.